You guys ready for the huge announcement? I could do this day in history. I could read your emails. We could read the news for you. I think we should just go to the 70-star announcement. That's what I think. You guys ready for this? This is a big one. This is a huge announcement, allegedly. I'm ready, so let's do it. What was the big announcement that we were going to have on the show today? I think we got it here. We going to get it? Good. AKA Philip Drew. What is up, Scott Horton?
Hey, Jack, how's it going?
Good. Now here's what I told people is that we had a 70-star announcement. Everything's 70 today for some reason. I'm even feeling like 70 today. But here was our big announcement. I didn't tell them what it was. Massive.
I was born in the 70s.
You were. So see, there's a connection here. I wasn't. I was born again in the 70s. Does that count?
Really?
Yeah, I learned my
I'm a bit surprised to hear that, but that was a long time ago.
Learned my lesson, and, I thought that's where freedom was, and I found out that it was only about saying what they had to say to scare the parishioners to get that new parking lot, and that kind of turned me off a little.
What's new parking lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
what the church is doing. They're telling you God will send you to hell unless you give an extra 10% because they need the new parking lot next door. Yes, that's what I found out in the back room of the I was born again in the 70s, so here's the 70 connection. Well, Scott Horton, why do I have you on? And there's a giant announcement for No Agenda radio listeners as we're growing this network. This is a massive announcement. I am so pleased to be able to make this announcement. Scott Horton, scotthorton.org from antiwar.com, anti-war radio, no longer. Scott Horton, you want to say it or you want me to?
Well, I'll say it. Starting Monday, I come on after Jack, right here on the No Agenda Global Radio stream.
I need to have an applause track. Somebody give me an applause track. There it is. That's a huge announcement. Scott Horton, if you did not hear this, if you did not catch it, if you don't believe your lying ears, he is joining us and not following this show, but I'm leading in to the Scott Horton show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we have Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak and the No Agenda show, and Friday it is the Scott Horton show. That is so freaking cool, man.
Well, thanks. I'm looking forward to having this format where I just get to do whatever I want and I don't have to stop every 10 minutes in the middle of right when I was about to make my point.
Right?
It's going to be nice. As you know, Jack, I started out on pirate radio, on Free Radio Austin, and then on Radio Chaos, and for many, many years I had absolute free reign to do whatever I wanted, and lately I've been operating under these constraints, and I'll be happy to be rid of them.
Well, and look, you libertarians, you anarcho-capitalists out there, you free market freaks out there like me, you can still listen to Scott Horton. You'll still be archiving your show at scotthorton.org. They'll still have input into the show. They'll be able to call in. It's the whole 9 yards, except no annoying salesman, as we say.
Yeah. Well, and I hope to stay on LRN. There's no hard feelings or burnt bridges or anything here as far as I know anyway. I'll be on the podcast in the middle of the night on the replay, because they've got to run commercials during their live shows, which is fine. No hard feelings whatsoever. Thanks to you, I've got this chance to do something new, and it seems like it should be a lot of fun and maybe get some new ear holes tuned in to what I'm yelling about, and so why not?
Adam Curry, Charles McFall, Mr. Oil, and Gitmo Slave. They're all excited to have you up, and so you're a huge addition. You'll bring a lot of excitement and power to this network. And I think me and you and I, we're going to make a pretty good 1-2 punch. I mean, I'll lay out some of the basic conspiracies. You'll analyze and debunk some of those just by your nature, bringing on your contacts, your sense of history, and some of the best guests out there in radio. You bring a lot of excitement to the internet, man. You really get out there and debunk all the reasons to go to war and to give up all your power to the state. Man, you do an excellent job. And you and I were together, what was it, 7-8 years ago on the RBN network, and we're back again.
Yeah, there you go. And listen, there's no shortage of cruelties inflicted by this American empire, and it's got to be opposed. And I don't just mean like in a kind of cliched, silly, somebody's got to do it, it's got to be me kind of way. I sort of also mean it's got to be you and everybody else. Because, right now there are people screaming in pain as they die because of this government, and it's got to stop.
Well, and no offense to Bill Cooper reruns, which we were playing in that spot, and any other host that might have been in there, and you're still going to get the No Agenda show on Thursday, so that's cool. But it's the other 4 days, and then you get Thursday off, man. That's got to be. Where do I sign up for that one?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Well, I'll have to find other productive things to do, but
yeah,
that'll be
I'm
all right.
sure
Maybe
you
I'll
will.
start writing again. Cool. Yep. Well, I'm definitely happy to be here.
Are you going to run your own show?
Plan on trying to make the most of it, best I can.
Are you going to run your own show like I do? You're going to board op live and all that?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Like I say, I started doing pirate radio, so.
There's one pirate radio station, and you're in Austin, Texas, by the way, so I need you to keep that freedom candle lit over there, because there's a lot of opposition, not from the global elite in the Illuminati, but from the people coming to save you from the Illuminati, or whatever. Those are the people watch your back over there, Scott. You know that.
Well, my thing is I don't really do much activism, honestly. All my activism is from behind the microphone. And so I don't really have a problem of, which circles I gotta run around in. The only circles I run around in are just my skater friends, really,
See?
Not really political
Keeps you
stuff.
real, doesn't it? And me too. I have a secular life, as I've said on this show. I'm not 24-hour surrounded by people fighting the New World Order or debunking the global matrix or whatever. I've got a lot of friends that are punk rock and punk rock bands and stuff, and like you, just completely oblivious to a lot of the stuff we talk about, and they keep me kind of grounded,
Yeah, sure. And there are a lot of people who I share their politics, but they're not necessarily the kind of people I want to pal around with on a regular basis. Not like in a too negative way. I'm just saying, plenty of like libertarian acquaintances I have, doesn't necessarily mean that's, who I want to pal around with Wednesday night.
Right. Well, that's like Adam Curry. He hangs out with porn stars and celebrities and stuff a lot. So,
But that doesn't sound so bad either.
Yeah, right. He's bringing the message. He just got married in Amsterdam. You know why, right? That's the best place to get married, the biggest part. Forget Vegas. That's old school, man. Go to the new school. Just go to Amsterdam and get married, and really get married in style.
I had good weed at my wedding here in Austin, Texas, so.
That's a full admission.
You don't have to travel to Europe to get high, man.
Well, you're right by the border. We just learned yesterday that the Bush and the Obama administration, just the last two, by the way, both of them with records of massive cocaine use and drug use. These are our alleged leaders, right?
Hey, a chicken in every pot, an indoor weed garden in every neighborhood.
Well, no, they're going to regulate weed. Gary Johnson's going to, if he gets elected, they'll regulate weed and tax it, and it'll be like liquor. You won't even be allowed to distill in your own house, and it'll be the whiskey rebellion all over again.
Don't worry, Jack. Gary Johnson's not getting elected.
Yeah, I know. We'll go get Coney, though.
You just go out there and make a principled argument, but oh well.
But if he was elected, we'd go get Coney.
Right. And I'm sure it would, take no time, and there would be no adverse consequences, and
it's like
who cares if the worst of all that was over 7 years ago anyway.
It's like Rand Paul. I mean, they'll still be drones. They'll just have a good excuse to use them.
Yeah.
National security and all that.
Detention down at Guantanamo Bay. It'll be a very libertarian, indefinite detention.
The right wing says that Fast and Furious was all about, stealing your guns and kicking down your door and taking your guns, and it's a big. They're talking about a conspiracy here, Scott. That they framed this, that they put this together was a false flag event to give them an excuse to take your guns. When in reality, what the main communications director for the Sinaloa cartel said is that no, we were the chosen ones. That they gave us the guns to fight the Zetas, our competition, and they let us smuggle all the drugs over the border, and we were immune from prosecution as long as we dropped a dime on the competition once in a while.
Well, to be fair, I thought it could have been a little bit of both. And then, here was an interesting thing, and I wonder what you make of this, because I really don't know that much about all the different Mexican drug cartels. But remember when they had the completely ridiculous and bogus plot of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps teaming up with an alcoholic used car salesman from Corpus Christi to hire the Zetas drug cartel to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States? And Eric Holder announced it with great fanfare, I don't know, half a year ago or something. And it was a ridiculous joke, you'll remember at the time. But part of the story, and this was the believable part, was that whoever it was in the Zetas cartel was a DEA agent at the very highest levels of the Zetas cartel. And so I remember thinking, well, geez, so you're arming the Sinaloa cartel, and then there are, of course, reports that went along with the Fast and Furious about how the Americans were turning a blind eye and letting the Sinaloa guys launder money and import drugs into the United States, no problem. But then I see, well, DEA is also at the highest levels of the Zetas cartel. So who's zooming who? Is there a third cartel that the CIA runs as well? Are there any Mexican drug cartels that aren't run by the U.S. government?
See, then
Jack, you know?
No, I do know exactly, because we have inside people in Mexico and the consulate and all that. We've been reporting on this. Go look at our featured section going back 3 years. We've been reporting on this. It makes Iran-Contra look like child's play, kind of like Obama makes Nixon look like child's play. But no, I know exactly what it is. And look, I mean, this is the meme, the myth they put out there. The Sinaloa, the Gulf, the Zetas, they control the Mexican government and the cops, when really it's all the other way around, which is a much bigger story. And you're right, it is about guns too, because it's cost-benefit analysis. It's about padding the banks and money laundering and propping up the banks, man. It's about, propping up the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex. It's about putting you in jail for a joint. It's about searching your car just in case you have that joint. They got to figure it out. It's about targeting selective people, because that's what laws are all about. They're selectively enforced, and that's why we need to get rid of them, man.
So in other words, you could not report to me that the Americans really do favor, or the Americans or their Mexican proxies really do favor any one of these cartels over the others. It's just about keeping the game going.
They do seem to favor the Sinaloas, but let's keep in mind that Los Zetas were trained at School of the Americas here in Georgia. So, there's that.
Yeah. Well, that's why they were so effective at being drug cartelists.
You're good at this, so you'll like this analogy. Look at it like Iran and Iraq during the Reagan administration.
Sure.
It's both
exactly.
sides. We might want one over the other, but whoever wins, we win. Kind of like Romney and Obama. Same thing. Who's going to win the election? Nixon. Here in 2012. Scott Horton.
It's just like Bill Hicks says, no matter who you vote for, the government always gets in there.
That was Greg Palast that came up with that one. Nixon will win the election, and I love that. It's Mitt Nixon or Barry Nixon, one of the two. Scott Horton starting his great new show. Who's going to be on Monday? Do you know yet? This Monday, your first show.
I have no idea.
That's awesome. So it's
something good. Yeah. I hope.
I don't either. I have no idea what I'm doing Monday either. Will we be here Monday? Because the end of the world is coming. The government is trying to kill you, boy. We may not be here Monday. No, Scott Horton will be here with the Scott Horton Show right here on No Agenda Radio. After this show, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here, No Agenda, NoAgendaStream.com, No Agenda Global Radio, Gitmo Nation. I'm so psyched to have you, bro. This is going to be awesome. We'll bring you up at the end of the show. Every day you can tell people what's going on in that show, and we'll be kind of like Sean Hannity and Greta.
I'll be Sean Hannity. Thanks, Jack.
Really? I don't know. I almost would rather be Greta than Sean Hannity. So I'll let you have that. All right. I'm coming with my palsy smile and my colored hair in the Monday. All the news you can trust, and most trusted man in news, Walter Cronkite. No, Scott Horton will be following me after this show. It's a 1-2 punch right here. I know. Great announcement. Thanks. That's 70 stars all the way. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, man.
All right, go get them on Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We're out. We'll see you. Have a great weekend. Love your friends. Love yourself. Love your neighbors. Be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid.